Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to tell you that you've read about him, you've heard about him. Now you're going to see him, the one and only pride of McCurtain County. For your listening and viewing pleasure, President Jimmy Westbrook.
Thank y'all. Have a seat, please. Have a seat. My. Ain't that something? Somebody from McCurtain County. How about that? In the presence of the governor and all these dignitaries on the front row. Man, if my folks back home could see me now, amen. Welcome to ACCO. It's safe to say that this is it is the largest conference we've had since ACCO was created. Now, ain't that something? Welcome back. Give yourself a big hand, would you please? I reckon survivors is what you'd call us all, because we survived part of 2019 and all of 2020 and everything in the world that's happened in 2021. My, it looks like it ain't gonna be no end, but we're gonna make it anyway, amen? Because we don't give up, give out, or give in. Now that would preach right there, I tell you for sure. But I want to recognize a man sitting down on the end of the table here that has survived many, many things. Our former President, Doug Hubbard. It's good to see him here today. Appreciate y'all so much. You know, being an elected official is not easy on any level. I'm talking about from a city council, school board, or county commissioner, or the governor's seat, or anybody else's. The world is so demanding and so impatient. It's a miracle that we're all here today after what we've been through. But we're here, and there's only one reason: because God Almighty. Amen. I'm going to ask my good friend Tony Simmons to come down and ask the Lord to bless this deal for us if y'all join us.
I'll stand for the invocation. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, we just thank you for this day. Lord, we thank you for all who have attended, Lord, who are here. Lord, we ask your blessings upon each one. Lord, bless this great state, our counties. Lord, just lead and guide each one of us, that you would be happy with what we do. Lord, forgive us where we fail you. Lead, guide, and direct us. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Amen.
Russell Earls will lead us in the flag salute while you're standing.
Would you join me in the flag salute? Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the United States of America and to the republic indivisible with liberty and
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Remain standing. Zach. Ladies and gentlemen, from Payne County, Zach Cabot will sing the national anthem.
Good to see you all here. I don't know how many knows the story of how the national anthem came to be. I didn't know for a long time, but I'm going to tell you a little story about it right quick, and then we'll sing the national anthem. In 1814, America was under attack from the British. This came about because the British wanted to regulate American shipping along with other agenda items. At this time, a young lawyer by the name of Francis Scott Key, living in Georgetown, Maryland area. The British had already captured Washington, forcing President Madison and his family to safer locations, while the White House and the Capitol had been set ablaze. But the British had other targets in mind as well. They wanted to capture Baltimore. Francis Scott Key was selected by the townspeople to secure the services of the man in charge of prisoner exchange. Key accompanied this man as they set sail in a small boat headed for the massive British warship. During the negotiations, the British commander decided that Key had heard too much about their impending battle plans concerning Fort McHenry, and Key was forced to stay aboard. The British explained to Key that the entire British Navy was en route to Chesapeake Bay to destroy Fort McHenry and crush America's war effort. As Key could see the ships arriving, he pled with the British captain that the fort housed many women and children. The British responded by telling Key that they had already been told that if they would just lower their flag, they would accept their surrender. On September 13th in 1814, the bombardment began. It was an unmerciful, brutal attack. Continuous bombarding made the deafening noise, while Key looked on in horror. One shell after another struck the flag directly, and yet it did not fall down. When Key could take his eyes off the battle, he would yell to his comrades below deck, "It's still standing." You could hear the cheers and prayers rise from below. Night fell, and Key could no longer see the fort, but the red glare of the rockets and bombs bursting let him and everyone else know the flag was still there. The British command was in a frenzy. They told Key they could not understand what was happening at the fort. British scouts had reported numerous direct hits to the flag, but yet it would not fall down. As the morning came and the fog cleared and the shelling had stopped, Key got to a vantage point where he could see what was going on. And he noticed that the flag was still standing and that we had not surrendered, but the British had given up. Amen.
Amen.
So Key realized this, and 25 hours roughly is how long the bombardment had taken place. So after they had given up, Key was released to go back to the fort. And as he approached the fort, his eyes met those of some of the dead patriots that had fallen for love of country. And he made his way to the flagpole. There the flag rested, torn, tattered, and almost unrecognizable. The pole itself was battered and bent and may have fallen if not for the people that held it up. The British realized that they could take down a fort, but they could never crush the American spirit. And that's why it really bothers me when I see the flag being burnt or any other defamation of it, because there's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears went into that flag. So I could sing this by myself, but I think it sounds so much better if we would all sing our national anthem. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Ladies and gentlemen, you can be seated. As a county commissioner this is my 19th year, I've had the occasion to do many great things. And I consider this honor today one of those great things, to be able to introduce our governor. Governor Stitt is the 28th governor of the state of Oklahoma. Now that means 27 people had this job before him. It ain't many, is it? Governor Stitt is leading the state with his vision of being a top 10 in critical categories, from the government accountability to job growth, infrastructure, education, and more. Governor Stitt is an entrepreneur, a businessman who founded a Gateway in Tulsa, Oklahoma in 2000, starting Gateway with only $1,000 and a computer. He grew his business into one of the top 20 mortgage lendings, institutions, and services in the nation, operating in more than 40 states and servicing more than 20 billion in residential mortgages. Stitt led Gateway through mergers with Farmers Exchange Bank in 2018, formed Gateway First Bank, which is headquartered in Jinx, Oklahoma. He operates more than 160 mortgage centers across the country, employs more than 1,400 people. He's a fourth generation Oklahoma who graduated from Norman High School and is alumnus to Oklahoma State University, where he received an accounting degree in 1996. Stitt and his wife, Sarah, have 6 children and have been married for 23 years. And he turned the lights out. That's right. Gene said, don't make no difference. There's going to be some snafus, but whatever you do, don't panic. So we didn't panic. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to introduce to you the governor of the greatest state in the union, Kevin Stitt. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Man, this was quite an honor to be with you. And I'll tell you what, Zach, that was amazing hearing that history and then having us all sing the national anthem together. Just warms my heart. And I'm just so happy to be here with all of my fellow Oklahomans in this room. And you guys represent our state so well. I also want to recognize Senator Chris Kidd, who's with us today, great friend of mine in the Senate. I know a great friend of yours as well. We've got Secretary Tim Gatz, who served on my cabinet, who runs transportation, who does an absolutely fantastic job. He's a good friend. So thank you for your leadership, sir. Really, really appreciate you. You know, it's such an honor. He gave kind of my bio. I'm a 4th generation Oklahoman like you. In the business world, grew up in Norman, went to Oklahoma State, and then found myself in Tulsa and decided to run for governor. And only in America. I'd never ran for office before, but I love my state. I love my country. And I thought that we need to become a top 10 state. And I didn't think we were there. And so I wanted to lead our state. And we are doing amazing, amazing things. And so we'll go through some of that in a second. But what I didn't realize when I became governor was it was going to make me a better parent. My wife and I have been married for 23 years. We have 6 children. And our oldest son just graduated from high school. And he just joined the Army. And he joined the Oklahoma National Guard. We're so proud of him. Thank you. He is in Fort Benning, Georgia this summer. And when you join the Army, my wife and I went to his swearing-in ceremony. And you promise to defend the Constitution of the United States, and you promise to obey the President of the United States. And since my 18-year-old son was also joining the Oklahoma National Guard, with his hand on the Bible and his hand in the air, he also promises to obey the commands of the governor of the state of Oklahoma. So like any good dad, I've been wearing him out, go polish my boots, soldier, go wash my car. And he's been rolling his eyes at his dad. But it's been fun. You know, I want to give you a quick update on our 2021 legislative session. We had, it's not just me saying it, but the speaker and the pro tem both, the leader of the Senate and the House both said that this was the most productive session that they'd ever been a part of. And it's due a big part to my friends in the House and the Senate. We just got some amazing things done. But I kind of set out 3 things. I call it the people's agenda. And it's to become a top 10 state for business. We believe we want more taxpayers, not more taxes. We need to be the most business-friendly state that helps everyone when we have growth, when we have business, we have a thriving economy. I also want to always deliver more for the taxpayer. I want to make sure that we are delivering more money, more better services, more efficient services for the taxpayer. And then I also want to invest in our fellow Oklahomans. I believe we accomplished all 3 of those things. I'll go over some highlights. We had a I believe we need to be the best place for corporations to be located. So we cut our corporate income tax this year from 6 to 4%. I want companies like Quick Trip and Williams, and I want those companies to know that Oklahoma wants them headquartered here. And I want more headquartered companies moving to our state. We dropped every single person in the room, got a income tax reduction. We went from 5 to 4.75% in our income tax rate. My goal is to get us to 4.5%. Then we'll be top 10 in the country in lowest income taxes in the country. We also reinstituted the earned income tax credit, which was something that was done away with 4 or 5 years ago. So we're excited to get that across the finish line. And it's really moving the needle as far as companies moving to the state of Oklahoma. Wow. That's right. That's right. And our electricity grid is very strong. But I don't know if y'all saw, we were really close to landing Tesla. I met with Elon Musk several times, and we came in second place to Texas on that deal. But I like to remind people that Texas had come in second place before they ended up getting Tesla to move there when they chose a California location. And so we took it in stride. We got tons of publicity. And because of that, we just announced another automobile manufacturer is going to move to Oklahoma. It's a company called Canoe, and they're bringing 2,000 jobs to Pryor, Oklahoma. So we're really, really excited about that announcement. Oh, thank you. So we're continuing to move the needle, but I got to tell you my favorite economic development story. It was during COVID, and Colorado had handled stuff much differently than we did in Oklahoma. My mission was to keep Oklahoma open for business, keep our schools open, make sure we did it safely, but I knew it was really important. So we were one of the first states to fully reopen last June 1st. And during that time period, the Cattlemen's Congress, it was the largest cattle show in the entire country. They couldn't have their show in Colorado. And so they were looking for a spot to have it. I took $250,000 of the governor's closing fund, and we recruited them to come to Oklahoma. And it was 17 days of hotels, restaurants filled up right here in Oklahoma City. And now Cattlemen's Congress, after 100 years being in Denver, Colorado, have officially moved to Oklahoma permanently. Well, me being a business person, I was trying to recruit more ag companies to the state of Oklahoma. And the Colorado governor did something that was very strange. He went out and issued an executive order and called it a meatless holiday in the state of Oklahoma. And I was like, man, that's not the way you recruit ag companies where I come from. And so I went out and snapped back, and I issued meat all week in the state of Oklahoma. So I was just trying to throw gas on that fire and make sure that everybody in the ag industry was noticing what we were doing in Oklahoma. Well, PETA, our friends at PETA, didn't like that very much. So they rented a billboard in South Oklahoma City. And if you can believe this, they put it up and they called me Governor Meathead Stitt, go vegan for life. So I see that sign. My communications team comes in and shows me that, oh, Governor, they're putting up a sign against you. And I looked at it and I was like, yes. They don't know my friends in Oklahoma very well. So I called the Cattlemen's Association and I said, listen, I said, y'all get the barbecue. Let's put it underneath that sign. Bring the hamburgers, the hot dogs, the steaks. I'm going to get on the radio in Oklahoma City, and we're going to invite all of Oklahomans out. And I had my most fun day as governor grilling out underneath the PETA sign, hamburgers and hot dogs in Oklahoma. It was awesome. And here's the great thing about Oklahoma. We did it in such fun. You know, the news media was there, and they asked me, Governor, what would you say to somebody that's a vegan? And here's what I said to him. I said, if you know what, in Oklahoma, if you want to be a vegan, be a vegan. I said, just don't tell me that I can't eat a hamburger, because we believe in freedoms in the state of Oklahoma, and I'm going to protect our way of life and freedoms in our state. You know, when I think about the budget this year as well, because of us keeping our state open and focusing on protecting not only the health and lives of Oklahomans, but also the health and lives of our businesses and our school kids, we went into this session with a $1.6 billion surplus. Huge deal. Other governors that I talked to and meet around the country had budget deficits. New York had a $10 billion deficit. They were actually cutting services. And I'm going to get to some of the things we did this year. But because of the way we handled it, it really benefited this session. So we also saved $800 million. So we have right now the largest savings account we've ever had in state history at $1.3 billion. It's a huge deal. We invested more money in public education than we had in our history. We invested $3.2 billion of appropriated funds to educate your children and my children all across the state of Oklahoma. That's not even including ad valorem property taxes, about 10 billion total, but it's the largest appropriation funds. We also had some major reforms done. I'm really proud. We had what's called an open transfer. And I'll tell you how that came about. Tulsa Public Schools was closed down for 350 days during this pandemic. Most schools around the state were all open for an option for in-person learning. And if any of you were governor and you had to sit in my office and take the phone calls from the single moms and the single dads who said, Governor, I live in Tulsa and I have to go to work. I have no choice. And my first grader and my third grader are at home by themselves. They're not learning how to read via Zoom. They're going to be behind next year. Meanwhile, my neighbors across the street that go to Broken Arrow and Sand Springs and Sapulpa and Skytube, they all are in school in person. And so that'll never happen to that single mom or that single dad again. Parents will now have a choice, if that ever happens, if they can move their kids to the school of their choice. And the funding formula, the money will actually go with the kid. It's a huge transformative change I'm excited about. We also, thanks to the House and the Senate, got equal opportunity scholarship done, which I just toured yesterday in Oklahoma City. It's a school called Positive Tomorrows that would not exist except for the equal opportunity scholarship. And we just raised the limit, 25 million for public schools, 25 million for private schools. Positive Tomorrows, they educate homeless children, kids that are in shelters that actually can come to their school. And it would not be possible without those type of scholarships. So excited to increase the enrollment on that, increase the funding. Your industry, the county commissioners across the state, we signed 40 policy bills that directly affect counties. Some of the highlights that I was really proud of. Senate Bill 840, this loosed regulations on purchasing and bidding procedures. It moved it from having to follow those procedures from 15,000 to 25,000. And I've been told from my county commissioner friends that some cases you couldn't even buy 4 tractor tires without having to go through the bidding procedures. And so this is able to help. And we want to listen to your concerns. And I know my friends in the Senate and the House do too. When you tell us that there's problems with running your counties more efficiently and more effectively, I personally want to know about them so we can change those laws and give you more autonomy to make decisions at the county level. We also allowed counties to set up rainy day and capital reserves. This to me is just common sense saving procedures to allow you to save for a rainy day. So we got that across the finish line. We restored 20 million in the CURB funding directly to counties. I know Secretary Gatz is going to give you more details about that. We raised county elected salaries by $5,000. and allowed you to make better decisions in your counties. That there hadn't been an increase since 1998. So we're glad to get that across the finish line. So again, whatever we can do to make your jobs easier, please let myself, Senator Kidd know, your representatives, and I will do everything I can to get those policies across the finish line. Also want to give a shout out. We are top 10. You hear me talking about top 10 a lot. I want to be top 10 in everything that we do. I believe that Oklahoma takes second place to no other state. This is the best state to live and work and raise a family, start a business. And so a couple of highlights. One in particular I'm proud of, and I know you are too. We are top 10 in the country in bridge conditions all across the state. And that's a huge effort that we started years ago. I know there's over 13,000 county bridges alone. And so that effort never stops in maintaining those. And so you guys are doing a wonderful job on that. That's why I wanted to make sure that we funded the curb funding. We got that back to the counties as well. American Rescue Plan. You're going to hear about that in a little bit, but that's some dollars that we want to get directly to the counties. We think there's going to be about $750 million that we're going to get directly back to the counties. It can be used for public safety, public health, technology improvements. I'm really focused on water, sewer infrastructure at the county level. So we want to help you get those dollars invested. Broadband is another initiative that we have to get all across the state of Oklahoma. And I think Auditor Byrd later on today will be giving you an update there. Before I close, I'll just close with this. The biggest issue facing the state of Oklahoma right now, in my opinion, not even close, is the McGirt issue. And with the show of hands, before I explain it to you, how many of you have heard of the McGirt issue? Most of you. Okay, great. You know, last summer, the Supreme Court in a 5-4 decision basically said that for the Major Crimes Act, the state still had reservations. The state never disestablished the reservations is basically what it said. And since 1907, we've been operating as the sovereignty of the state of Oklahoma. We've been prosecuting crimes, et cetera. So just like that last summer, the state lost jurisdiction in eastern Oklahoma to prosecute crimes. Why is that a big deal? Whether you're an Indian or a non-Indian, the state cannot prosecute a crime. The district attorneys, the police, there's a checkerboard of jurisdiction now going on in eastern Oklahoma. I just had a forum last night in Tulsa with victims trying to give them answers. Because a DUI, for example, if you are hit by a native and somebody was drunk, the state can't prosecute that. Or maybe you're a native and you're hit by a non-native, the state can't prosecute that. The problem is it's not even being prosecuted right now. Anything less than murder, rape, major bodily harm crimes, they just don't have the manpower because it's a federal U.S. attorney and the district attorneys don't have the right. So Steve Coonswalder in Tulsa, Matt Ballard over in Claremore, those guys are trying to sound the alarm to say there is a problem. We have to figure this out. That's on the Major Crimes Act. They're telling me there's about 100,000 potential felonies, crimes, just going back to 2005 that could be expunged. People are being released from prison and in some cases not being retried. So 2 examples. They're in Tulsa County. I don't know if you remember 2009, Kimberly, I can't remember her last name. She actually was driving drunk, killed 5 people. She got sentenced by the state of Oklahoma to 100 years in prison, killed 5 people. And she just got released after 12 years because of the McGirt situation. So Daniel Vivier in Ada, Oklahoma, there were 3 guys that beat up an 85-year-old man almost to death, robbed him. They all got 20 years in prison. Daniel Vivier just got released from prison because he was a Native American. So same crime, same time, 2 people get different punishments, 1 person gets another. We have to have one set of rules. We have to have equal protection under the law, regardless of your race. It's a huge issue. I'm a fourth generation Oklahoman. I'm actually a member of the Cherokee Nation, but I'm also an Oklahoman that believe we shouldn't have different treatments just because of your race. However, if it moves into two other issues, and this is something I wanted to let you know about, the Department of Interior just let the state of Oklahoma know. They just sent me a letter and they said, Governor, you can no longer regulate mines in Eastern Oklahoma. You lost your jurisdiction. And I said, whoa, we've been doing this since 1907. We're a state. We get to regulate mines. They said, not anymore. You can't do that in Eastern Oklahoma. So basically, I don't think the Biden administration can come into Oklahoma and take away our state's authority and how we've operated since 1907. That was the first case of a move into regulation. Taxation. My tax commissioners and the people at the tax authority, they have thousands and thousands of protests of people in Eastern Oklahoma that are native that say, give me back my income tax. They're checking the box that they don't live in the state of Oklahoma. So these are going through the court system right now. If we don't have one set of rules, because after all, we all go to the same high schools, we all drive on the same roads, we're all Oklahomans. So we have to get this fixed. And I will always stand for what's right for all 4 million Oklahomans, tribal and non-tribal member. I want everybody to be successful regardless of your race. We have to have the equal protection under the law. We have to have one set of rules if we're going to be a successful state. So on a brighter note, we have a plan. We think we can get there, but I just want Oklahomans to know this affects everybody, natives and non-natives alike. We're going to have a ceremonial signing this year. So I know I'll be meeting a lot of you back at the state capitol as we go through some of those 40 bills that are affecting you directly. So I'm so excited to have you back at the state capitol. Well, again, thank you so much for having me here. It's an honor, and it's so important that we stay engaged in what's happening at the state capitol. And I know this group specifically, your engagement is so important. You are the leaders in your counties. You're the leaders in the state of Oklahoma. Don't take that for granted. Don't take it lightly. You're the ones that people at church will call and ask you about these issues. You have to stand up and tell folks exactly what's happening at the state capitol. Let me know what we can do to help. And thank you for having me here. God bless you, and God bless the great state of Oklahoma.
Yeah, the infamous. Thank you, Governor. We appreciate you coming by. I've been a county commissioner for 19 years. And I think that's the first governor we've ever had out there, ain't it? Sitting governor.
Maybe.
I believe it is. Now, ain't that something? That's good. Today's a special day. Now, back to our agenda. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my great pleasure to introduce to you today the state senator named Chris Kidd. You know, he's a part of this ACCO family from a long time back. And we're proud to have him today. Chris Kidd is from Waurika, a fifth generation Oklahoma. He's the son of a rancher and school teacher, graduate from Waurika High School. Kidd received an associate degree in agricultural science at Murray State College, and then went on to graduate from Oklahoma State University with a Bachelor of Science degree in agricultural sciences and natural resources. Kidd is a graduate of the 2014 Oklahoma Agricultural Leadership Program and Leadership Oklahoma's entrepreneurial program. Senator Kidd and his wife Lindsay have 3 beautiful girls. In addition to being a father of 3, he and his work as a state senator, Kidd and his father operate a cattle ranch in southern Oklahoma. He also serves as a local volunteer fire department, a member of the Addington First Baptist Church. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Senator Kidd.
Thank you, Jimmy. Well, I've
got to tell you that I am very humbled and deeply honored that you invited me to speak here today. In fact, I feel more honored speaking here today than I do most other places because, like you said, this is personal. It's a part of me, and it helped shape who I am today. Now, you probably are thinking to yourself, that's a little too touchy-feely sentimental for a room full of county commissioners. Well, you're probably right, but let me explain why I feel the way I do. I'm the son of a county hand who worked hard for 12 years to make ends meet, support his family, and to give me and my brother opportunities that he never had. I'm the son of a man whose work ethic is unmatched, whose dedication to his family and community is an inspiration. I'm the son of a county commissioner who decided to run and was elected in 2008, and who served and thoroughly enjoyed his service on the ACCO Board of Directors. Many of you know the now semi-retired Jefferson County District 1 Commissioner, Billy Kidd. I told him I was asked to speak here today, and I was going to talk a little bit about him. So I asked him, what is one thing that you would want to be remembered for as county commissioner? This was his response, and those of you who know him, you'll say, that's Billy Kidd. This was his response. He said, no, Christopher, no, you don't need to talk about me. You need to talk about the CRB fund. They want to know about their CRB money. To which I replied, Dad, I got it covered. I just want to know the one thing you would want to be remembered for as county commissioner. He told me that this is it. He told me that his motto as county commissioner, although it's cliche, was to leave things better than he found it, to leave Jefferson County better than he found it. I know this to be true because although he retired, he returned to the county working part-time. But more than anything, he wanted to see the commissioner who preceded him succeed, hoping that he could be a resource and offer his advice, whether, Bryce, where are you? There you are back there. Whether our current county commissioner, Bryce Bohut, asked for it or not. So Bryce, you could argue that he was either a resource or a thorn in your side, and I think it was probably both. Is that right? Yeah, I understand. So it goes without saying, while growing up, I learned a lot about county government from my dad. I learned that as a county commissioner, you are where all the services get delivered. You are where the rubber meets the road, and that pun is intended. You are the ones that are face to face, looking into the eyes and the hearts of the ones you serve. I learned that being an elected county official is much more challenging than being elected to the legislature, because you are under a microscope as to whether or not you can deliver. Either that pothole gets filled or it doesn't. As a county commissioner, your results are very much on display. So I understand the sacrifices that you make of your time and your resources. And I want you to know that's something that I do not take lightly. And it's the reason that I've been committed to helping county government since I was elected in 2016. I guess you could say it's the reason I want to leave things better than I found it for our county commissioners. But I couldn't do it alone. So with the help of Chris Schroeder, Bill Case, and this great organization, ACCO, Jacob McCune, I've authored 24 pieces of legislation, everything from streamlining the purchasing process for county governments to making it easier for you to trade in equipment, all done to help make your jobs easier. But as the governor said, I think this past session was probably the most successful, and I was proud to be the Senate author on two very important bills. One he mentioned, Senate Bill 840 and House Bill 1064. House Bill 1064 simplified the county salary schedule and raised the maximum basic salary schedule, which will help county elected officials and your employees receive a future pay increase. Senate Bill 840 increased your purchase order limit, hoping that making day-to-day operations more efficient and saving you time and money. Then there was House Bill 2892. Creates new funding formula to repair or replace structurally deficient bridges. This new formula will redirect
$30 million of motor vehicle fees to your M&O accounts. And then there was the passage of the GA bill, the General Appropriations Bill, House Bill 2900. And this transferred $20 million, and here's where, Dad, I got you covered, to the CIRB fund. These are all great, and I'm thankful for what we were able to accomplish, but it can get better. I think it's well past time that we lift the cap on these funds and allow for the much needed increase in funding for our county roads. And not only is it much needed, I'd say that it's probably well deserved. Well deserved for two reasons. Some may say it wasn't a great report. I beg to differ, but just 2 weeks ago, the Legislative Office for Fiscal Transparency released a report on the CIRB plan. It was an 85-page in-depth report where the research showed that the CIRB plan is working. Yeah, we can improve, but it works. The second reason is this, and that's you. You know your counties and the people you serve. You know what's needed and you know where it's needed. You know Oklahoma and you know what you're doing. And I guess you could say that's the reason I'll stay committed. I know I'll stay committed to helping county government, but more importantly, and this is following in my dad's footsteps and his example, it's the reason I want to leave things better than I found them for you, our county commissioners. Thanks for having me today.
Hey, Senator, we're not done with you. Come back here. We started a program several years ago on behalf of the ACCO Board of Directors, where when we have an outstanding individual that we go to at the Capitol, we try to find some way to give extra recognition for the help that they give us there. As county commissioners, as Senator Kidd just said, all we can give you is goodwill and hard work. And when we started looking for people at the legislature, and we haven't done this in a while, because they got to meet a certain parameters. And if there's anybody in this room that checks every box of appreciation for what he does at the Capitol, Senator Kidd is that individual. Senator, first of all, I'd like for you to go home and tell Billy Kidd that you raised him well, but that we're proud of the fact that you have county DNA in your blood and that we never have to question about whether you'll be there for us. So the board of directors for ACCO is going to present to you the highest award that we could present to an elected official in the state of Oklahoma that is called the Rock Star Award. And I might read on behalf of the ACCO Board of Directors and the 231 grateful county commissioners in the state of Oklahoma, we're giving our Rockstar Award to our friend at the state capitol, Senator Chris Kidd. And I might also add, as he will tell you, I don't donate much, but I was one of the first contributors when he decided to run. So I'm proud of you, brother.
Man, I didn't expect that, and I sure didn't expect to cry at the county commissioner conference.
We don't make you cry, we're not
I
successful.
know. I just want to say that this means more to me than you know. I guess it's because you're like family. So thank you.
Well, we're having fun yet, amen? What about that guy?
When you make senators cry, that's a success.
That's a success, ain't it? This next guy's gonna be a little tougher maybe, but we'll get him done. Ladies and gentlemen, this guy named Tim Gatz is a friend of mine. I consider him to be a friend of mine. Met him several years ago in the upstairs room at the ACCO building, was having a little trouble. And he sat down and wanted to hear my side of the story. And I said, I'm gonna say my side of the story till the other folks are there to hear it, because I don't want that hearsay, he said, she said stuff. He said, Commissioner, I didn't come to referee a fight. I just come to hear your side of the story. And that's what I noticed about Tim Getz. He's always willing to hear our side of the story, not just their side of the story, but our side of the story. Now, he's got a Bible here as long as my arm of where he graduated and all that, but that don't mean nothing to me. What means something to me, he's a friend of county government. Tim Getz, ladies and gentlemen, Secretary of Transportation.
Commissioner, that may have been the finest introduction that I ever could have got. So I appreciate you so much. It's an honor for me to be here with y'all today. Man, it's good to see y'all. Really is to have an event like this. And Gene, to your point, the effort that it takes to put on something like this, that ACCO puts forth to bring everybody together. And you're going to have these little electrical things and stuff like that goes on. But my gosh, thank you. Thank you to the folks that made this happen, because this is a big deal. And the one thing I can tell you, and Jimmy, I don't know whether we've had governors with us before, but I can tell you it's not my first rodeo. I have had the honor and the privilege to work in partnership with county government for a long time, many, many years. And I value that among the top things that I've accomplished, the top things that I've been involved with during the course of 31 years in transportation. So again, guys, it really, truly is an honor for me to be here with you today. I don't have prepared remarks, and I apologize for that. So, I'm just going to come up and visit a little bit with you about some things that are going on. But, first and foremost, I have the honor and privilege also in serving in Governor Stitt's cabinet. And in my representation of transportation, I'll tell you, and I've worked for a lot of governors, went to work for the Department of Transportation under Henry Bellman, if that gives you a little bit of an idea how long I've been doing this. But I've never worked for anybody like Governor Stitt. He brings a business mindset unlike anything I've ever seen before. And that's his true focus. And that gives us opportunities to think outside the box. And I think right now where we're at with government, both in the state of Oklahoma and in this country, that's extremely important, to be empowered to do things sometimes the way we've not always done it. And that's a fresh viewpoint. So I appreciate the chance to be here. And if you want to see that in action, look at some of the things that Oklahoma is accomplishing. And I go help me, y'all help me figure this deal out. But we've got a company that shares a name with a boat that's coming to Oklahoma to build an electricity powered pickup truck. Go figure that deal out. But this canoe company, I can't minimize what an important thing is. That's a manufacturing company unlike anything we may have ever seen before, coming right here to Oklahoma. That's business mindset in action. That's growing the state. And I know y'all are in this business for the same reasons I am, because you love Oklahoma. You want Oklahoma to prosper, not just now, but for our future generations. So our kids can live and work here and not think they've got to go somewhere else to make a living, because there's no better place than right here in Oklahoma. So again, I'm happy to be a part of that on the transportation front. There's a lot of good things happening. But I'll tell you, if you have the calling, if the good Lord has put it in your heart to seek elected office of any kind in the day and age we're in, I thank you for that. I respect you for it because again, it is and county commissioners and county government, it's the toughest job in government, folks. I recognize that. I've been working with you for a long time and you get pulled in a lot of different directions. And I appreciate what you do for the state of Oklahoma every day. So know that and know that we support you in the transportation world and are proud to partner with you to try to make a difference for Oklahoma citizens. Legislative session, a lot of good things happen, a lot of moving parts coming out of the 2020 session into this 2021 session. Man, 2020 was tough. We none of us knew where we were going to land. We had, money problems and budget problems. And then we proceeded to manage our way through COVID. And that's inclusive of how county government acted and the things that you continued to accomplish in spite of the challenges that presented. And we came out on the other side. We were very careful. We were very concerned and mindful as we managed our way through COVID, but we found ways to continue to make progress. Why did we have a good legislative session in 2021? Because we managed our business very well in government and in the private sector, better than most, better than any, I'd tell you. So here we are, better budget year, a lot of opportunities to do some things, and good things happen because of it. Again, at the county level, the legislature worked through some issues, found some ways to get money directed towards the M&O accounts. That's something that's always a concern and a struggle. I have a very clear understanding of that. We were able to replenish some dollars back into the CRB to try to help. And that's a difference maker. That helps us get through this next year. We got to continue to work. We got to continue to work together because we're never done. We've got to find ways to continue to make investments. And the folks I work for, they don't care whether it's a city street, a county road, or a highway. They want it all good. And we've got to do our best to try to make it as good as we can make it. And that takes us working together. So we're not done. We're not done looking for additional opportunities for revenue to come in and to invest. And on that front, we talk a little bit about a company that's going to come to Oklahoma and build electric vehicles. One of the biggest challenges that I believe that we're going to face in transportation for the future is electric vehicles. Because again, you're talking about a revenue source and investment revenue in transportation that's primarily come from motor fuel tax. Some vehicle excise tax, license and registration fees is part of that too, but primarily it's motor fuel tax. And as we see electric vehicles become more and more prominent, especially in our passenger fleet, and about 65% of all the motor fuel tax, gas and diesel, that's generated both at the state level and at the federal level comes from gasoline tax. Not diesel, comes from passenger vehicles. So as that passenger vehicle fleet begins to convert, what we're going to see is, say we realize that 25% of the passenger vehicle fleet becomes electric in the next 10 years. That's a very real possibility. If you'd have told me that 5 years ago, I'd have told you were crazy. Tell me that today, every other commercial I see on TV is a vehicle manufacturer talking about that they've got a new electric vehicle that they're introducing into what? The passenger vehicle fleet. So we're going to begin to see those revenues change. And that's been something we've been concerned about. Well, Oklahoma and our legislature and the governor tackled that this legislative session, started to put some things in place where electric vehicles will begin to make sure that they're investing in that infrastructure and generating some revenue. Now, what's been created is not perfect, but I'll tell you that's something we're going to work together on as we go forward to try to make it better. And again, I think the legislature supports that. but it's a huge step in the right direction. Another task force that that's going to go on and we're going to seek your help and input on is road user charge. That's the other side of that. As motor fuel taxes and our ability to collect those change, as we see more and more electric or for that matter, alternative fueled vehicles. Used to be CNG, now it's hydrogen. That seems to be the up and coming thing. And we're going to see that more and more prevalent, especially in long haul trucking. So I think we're going to begin to see some of that transition. So those road user charges and how we begin to think about that are going to change. We're going to need county government's input as we work our way through some of that. So again, a lot of good things happening. That road user charge comes to us in the form of a task force. So we're going to start to think about it, start to try to figure out what that means for Oklahoma and figure out how to work through that. But a lot of good things happened during this last legislative session. And one of the things that I'm most proud of is a lot of the things that happened were focused on infrastructure, county infrastructure, state infrastructure, because an investment in our infrastructure is an investment in ourselves and an investment in our future. And that's critical to all of us. So again, had a good legislative session. I'll talk a little bit about the federal stuff that's going on right now. We're going to hear from the state auditor here in just a minute. And certainly she's going to have a much broader perspective than I. But that's been a little bit difficult to keep track of too. CARES Act and then Carissa dollars and now this recovery, or I guess rescue plan. I don't know about y'all, but I never really felt like Oklahoma needed to be rescued. But we certainly appreciate the support. And we'll try to put those dollars, and I know everybody will, put those dollars to work as best we can. So we've got some things ahead of us to sort out, some of which is the new highway bill that's starting to work its way through Congress right now on both the House side and the Senate side. A lot of confusion around what's happening in the federal government right now because so much is going on. You've got the House progressing a highway bill that's going to represent, and our current bill is just an extension act, runs out at the end of September. So we're going to have something in place. They're working on a highway bill. The House is making progress, going a little bit different direction maybe than the Senate is, but the Senate's making progress too, led by Senator Inhofe, who always does a great job of representing our interest. And at the same time, the Biden administration, the president's got his version of what he believes an infrastructure investment package ought to look like. Got some good things in it. Got some things that I don't really understand that are outside the two right-of-way fences that I work between. But I'm going to tell you, the focus on investing in infrastructure right now, both at the state level and federal level, is unlike I've ever seen it in my 31-year career. So again, a lot of good things happening in the infrastructure world. We've got to be prepared to be nimble. We've got to be prepared to adapt to whatever might come at us and try to get those dollars to the pavements, to the bridges, and put them to work as fast as we can. The other thing that we've had go on over the course really of the last year or so is that interaction with the LOFT group, the Office of Fiscal and Transparency. And that's been a good undertaking. I got to tell you, I got a lot of respect for Mike Jackson and the pro tem and the speaker and what they're accomplishing with that office. And that wasn't a lot of fun, to go through that process and have those interactions. But what comes out of it is a better understanding on all parts of kind of what we're up against. And you heard the governor talk about bridge infrastructure on the county system and on the state system, both. We're not done. We're not where we want to be. We've got to continue to focus on our bridge infrastructure, but that's not the only need we have. We've got to find ways to invest in all aspects of it in a balanced approach. And that's more critical than anything. The department, I think most of y'all, not all of you, because sometimes we don't see eye to eye on everything. But I think most of you would agree, we have done our best to work with you. And not be too heavy-handed in our interactions. And, I think that's going to continue. I think we'll take the things that Loft pointed out and try to build on that and do some things better, maybe a little differently in the future. The thing I'd emphasize to you more than anything else is the Department of Transportation is not any different today than we've ever been. We're willing to sit down with county government, identify problems, and try to find ways to work together to make a difference, make it better, whatever it is. And we're going to remain committed to that. I think the lesson in Loft is exactly that. Let's, maybe revisit some things, sit down and talk some things through and see if we can identify some ways to do things better. And we're going to get about the business of doing that. So again, I appreciate the work that the group did. And all in all, I think it'll be a management tool for us going forward. And we'll try to find some ways to put it to use quick. To close out, the Department of Transportation right now, and you heard Governor Stitt talk about, that business mindset. And one of the first interactions that I had with him was a discussion about me maybe taking on the role as cabinet secretary, but also serving in a dual directorship as director of Turnpike Authority and director of the Department of Transportation, which is not unique. It's rare. Secretary McCaleb did that for a while. Secretary Ridley did it for a while, but it's never been put into a long-term type of an environment. And that has led us to organizational modernization. And if you look at the transportation cabinet, we're pretty fortunate because we've got 3 agencies in the cabinet: Turnpike Authority, Department of Transportation, and the Aeronautics Commission. So as you look at that, we're all in the transportation business, whether it's air, rail, highways, county roads, transit, it's all transportation. We've got the best opportunity maybe in the entirety of the cabinet to work together and try to find some efficiencies and opportunities to share resources. And that's what modernization is about. Are we using the resources we've got available to us, whether that's people, whether that's equipment, whether that's technology, to the maximum extent we can for the benefit of Oklahoma? And that's what modernization is about. You're going to see us begin to blend organizational structures, whether that's human resources. Right now, we've got 3 separate human resources groups that work in the cabinet. We probably don't need that. We probably can have one human resources group that serves all of us, things like that. That goes all the way down to looking at the highway districts that we've got out there right now and maybe going from 8 to 5. Well, I'm going to tell you that's reduced in law. So that's a much heavier lift than looking at some of our administrative functions to see if we can leverage resources across the cabinet. And that's going to take legislative support. That's going to take gubernatorial support, much heavier lift. That'll take longer to work through, but we're going to let that find its own pace. But we're going to get started and we're going to find some efficiencies and some savings and look forward to better serving our interactions with county government at some point in the future. Local government does a great job. One of the focus areas that we've got in modernization is project delivery. So we're going to take a hard look at our project delivery processes and try to make those better. So you're going to hear a lot of discussions. If you got questions, please ask them. Shelley's great. Rick Johnson is great. They'll keep you up to speed as best we can. If you see us doing something you don't quite understand, come see us and we'll talk about it. We're happy to do that. But nobody should be having anxiety over whether or not your service level is going to decrease, because I'm going to tell you that's not what it's about. It's about renewing focus and finding a better way to do business. So that's where we're at. I can't thank you enough for the opportunity to be back here with you. Appreciate the invitation. I love working with county government and ACCO. Gene, so much appreciate what you do and the leadership that the board and everybody provides. Look forward to a bright future, and thanks again for having us.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. What a guy. Ladies and gentlemen, our next speaker is she's kind of one of them special people that you run onto once in a while. I was really gonna rough her up a little bit because she kind of roughed us up a little once in a while, you know. She's kind of like one of them, some of your kin folks that you run onto at Walmart or something, you want to duck down the other aisle and don't want to, you know, don't want to look them in the eye, afraid they might want to come eat supper with you or something. This is several years ago, but every time I looked up, here comes Cindy Bird. It's like, my Lord, woman, you gonna move down here and set a mailbox out in front of this courthouse? Are you living here? Are you sleeping in the basement? Every time you turn around, she was there. She said, I'm just trying to help y'all out. I'm the government and I'm here to help. So I get the privilege of introducing her today, and I was looking over her biography here. Now, there's some pretty good accomplishments here. I mean, she's the only one that's ever got 800,000 votes. Now, that's a pretty good milestone. She's the first woman that was ever elected to the state auditor's office. She's got this pedigree about this long, about all these degrees, the bachelor's of science and all this stuff. But the main ingredient to all this stuff, she married a fella named Steve, who lives in Colgate, Oklahoma. Now that's a pretty big accomplishment right there. Amen. Where is Cindy Bird at? Is she here? Is she left? There she is. She's hiding right in the middle. Come up here, Miss Cindy.
You can block him right here in front of her.
It's so good to be here with all of you. I've missed you. This last year was really hard not getting to be a part of county government. So now that Jimmy has introduced me with that, I have a little story to tell you on McCurtain County myself. So Cheryl Wilson, who was with me, this was before our time. There was a group of auditors who went down to McCurtain County to audit. And whenever you went down there wasn't really any place to stay overnight. And so while you were there, you might as well just, work as late as you could. Well, someone closed the door on the auditors. Guess where they were working? In the basement. So they literally did spend the night in the basement. If any of you know James Dickerson from the ADA manager, he was one of those. And Doug Denson, who now works for FEMA, I think he's still working for FEMA. Those were our two auditors who got locked in the basement. And the basement connected, Jimmy, correct me if I'm wrong, connected over to the jail. So sometime in the middle of the night, they heard these two men hollering. I mean, what are you going to beat on? Concrete? So they kept hollering, and I think someone finally heard them. But auditors have spent the night in the basement at McCurtain County, so it's not a laughing matter. I want to say thank you to Jean and the ACCO board and all of the county commissioners for letting me always be a part and come and talk to you. And what a wonderful organization that prays and stands for the flag. And Zach, you did an amazing job on the national anthem. I mean, this is just doesn't get better than this. This group is the best. I do want to give you an update just on where our audits are. The bad cousin coming that nobody wants to see, the family, but we are pretty well caught up on our audits. There are some older ones lingering out there that have some issues we're trying to get cleared up, but we are always trying to be responsive and stay on track with things. Due to COVID, we've all experienced this. The governor directed us to start teleworking those first few months that everything shut down. And we found that would help us save on travel cost. So I have allowed the auditors as well as most of the staff to telework 2 days a week. And I hope that's working out well. I hope we're still responsive. Hope we're answering questions like you need. I hope that that you're able to get in touch with us. So if you are experiencing any difficulties, I always want to hear about that because we are here to serve you. Now, tomorrow we're going to talk about ARPA, the American something. It's that big pot of money that you're getting. The feds do make the rules on this. And, I was sitting here thinking about something. One thing you should know is that probably 90% of our audit, the rules come from the federal government. Did you know that? explains a lot about it, doesn't it? Explains why sometimes things don't always make sense for rural Oklahoma or even for county government. So just know that we're always trying to balance following what the feds say we have to do in our audits and what really works out here for you. So with the ARPA funds, we've been getting so many questions, and we've been hesitant to give out any answers over the phone because if any of you have read all of this guidance, it's very broad. Does anyone in here have a good feel for how you're going to spend this money right now? It's very uncertain. In the state of Oklahoma, the legislature usually gives you a pot of money and says, spend it like this. You don't have these questions. Well, federal government's put out all of this money. It's $1.3 billion for the state of Oklahoma for counties and municipalities. And I think around just under 800 million of that is going to counties. So this is more money probably than you've ever been given in a lump sum with no direction on what you're supposed to do with it. So we're going to try to answer some of those questions tomorrow. I know that many of you are desperate for funds for courthouse renovations, for jail renovations. And, I'm sorry, these funds are not going to get you there with that. There are small workarounds that we will talk about tomorrow that might help free up some money that can help you, but it's just, the guidance was targeted to spend the funds on disadvantaged communities and populations. Now, how do we define that? I think county government as a whole has been kind of disadvantaged over the last few years. I've seen you guys try to make a budget with no money. So, I mean, that's where this is going. And in the breakout session tomorrow, we're going to have really good handouts on what you can spend this money on. And the auditor, a CPA from Tulsa who helped put these pages together, he has them coded green, yellow, and red, like a stop sign or like a stoplight. Green means this is what you can spend them on. Yellow means these are the areas, proceed with caution. Red means don't go there. So you have to be very careful because the last thing we want is for someone to spend money on something and then the feds come back and claw it back, because what's going to happen? You're not going to have the money to pay it back. And so you know what the feds do whenever you don't have the money to pay it back? They sue you, and then the property tax owners have to pay it back. We have to levy, pay a judgment, and that just doesn't look good. So we need to all be very careful, proceed carefully, and make sure we know what we're doing. And there's this thing too that I'm very protective of. Not that it's my place, but I'm very protective of county government's image, because people in this state don't always know what you're doing or how hard you're trying. And if you mess up one little thing, they want to say, oh, well, that's county government. So I want us to all try to stay focused on how we can spend these funds, and please don't ever hesitate to reach out to us. We can help you with this. Just to talk a little bit about some legislative changes. House Bill 1036 allows a county to sell surplus equipment to another county without taking bids. This is long overdue. How long have we been trying to fight this and work around this? This is a great bill. House Bill 1064 raised the base salary for elected officials to $49,500, which is an increase of $5,000. The auditor still doesn't feel like you need this complex salary or a cap. I think that counties should be allowed to manage that. No one's listening to me so far on that. House Bill 2892 extends the SERB funding directly to counties until 2026. Now that I thought this is going to be a great thing until I had a conversation with Chris, and he said, well, yeah, but they're taking that from our SERB funds. So the budget's good this year. The money's coming in higher than ever. Start talking to your legislators about increasing that SERB fund now. It's important. We have finished the CED audits. Those have been finished for about a month now. We're just about ready to roll those out. We knew that the LOFT, the Legislative Office of Fiscal Transparency, was getting ready to release their report. I did listen to all of that. And as we were looking at our CED audits, we're looking at specific laws and administrative rules to see if the CEDs are following those. And there were some areas that if you look at those rules, they weren't being followed. So I called Randy Robinson, and Max Hess decided to join. And of course, Chris was there. And we talked about what we found statewide in the audits. And as we were sitting there, I asked Randy, I said, you know, an audit is not designed to talk about the good things. I mean, you all know that, right? An audit usually just points out what we found. So one of the things that I suggested to Randy and Chris was in the front of these CED audits, in the informational part only, it's not part of our audit, why couldn't we put some pictures of projects that have been completed with these SERB funds? Why don't we talk about the good that's been done? That would not be coming from the auditor. It would be presented as information given to us, but anybody who picks up that audit can see, hey, there's where our money went. Look at this picture of this bridge. Look at this road. So we tried to balance that out with some positive things that the CEDs have done. And I think those CED managers were responsible for getting that information. So if you're here in the crowd, thank you for working on that and for getting that information to us. It makes those audit reports look really good. Okay, then there's also Senate Bill 483, and that's going to require training for your excise board members. So one thing that Cheryl pointed out to me yesterday that I did not know, that there's an attorney general opinion that says you can't get this increase in the middle of a term. So you got to know when your excise board members were appointed, but they will have to have training in order to remain an excise board member. So Nodi and I worked on that a little bit this morning, how we're going to roll that out. We'll be getting some information out to help the county clerks notify these excise board members, and we will also be sending them some information directly. Something that we're working on, Cheryl and I are working on, I say working on, it's slow going. We hear across the state about rural volunteer fire departments. You know, we get into this discussion about the sales tax money. And if a fire department spends $30,000 of sales tax money to buy a piece of equipment, and then they use $20,000 of their own, who owns this? What do we do when we're going to get rid of it? So the law is never going to address all of these things. So what we're trying to do is come up with a best practices book. And with covering many areas, it's just suggestions that says, hey, if you're going to use part of this, make an inventory card. And when you sell it, you know, 30% comes back to the county, 20% or 70% goes to the volunteer fire department, however it was broken up. So I hope that you're going to find some of that useful, because we get an enormous amount of questions on rural volunteer fire departments, and we're trying to help them with those questions. We are on social media. We have a Facebook account, we have a Twitter account, and they say we have an Instagram account, but I'm not on Instagram. But I do wish that you guys would get out here and follow us. There was something very interesting that we put out, and I put it out around the time that property taxes were due. How many people in your communities think the property taxes pay for roads? Yeah. So we put this out there because I knew that was a big question. And so I got to noticing that the county clerks were sharing this, or a commissioner might share this information. And I thought, what a great way, if you're getting some heat from somebody in the county that just doesn't understand what the law says, if there's an issue that we can clarify or put out here, send us a suggestion. You know, if we can tell your constituents, hey, this is what the law says, you can say it came from the auditor's office. Sometimes it helps you. And we also want to have, you know, constituents who are well informed of what the law requires, right? So there's that. We're also rolling out a new website in a couple of weeks. Gene, I'll have a new picture. I know that picture that we use is old. I really don't like having my picture made. So we're going to have a new rollout on our website. All of the staff has new pictures. You'll see a new picture of Cheryl and Nancy as well. But one of the things that was really important to me on this website was that we have the state of Oklahoma broken up by counties. And any person can go to this map, click on their county, and see any kind of audits that are related to that county. Because let's face it, the website that we have right now is not real friendly. It's not easy to go out here and find your school budget or to find an authority audit. So we're hoping that this is going to be helpful for you as well. And then last, because you know I keep this short and sweet, I do want to say a thank you to all you do as county officials. People from the state can come down here and they can talk about a budget. They can talk about how, well, we're doing this or we're doing that. But those people have no idea what a budget process is until they see all of the county officials in a county get in one room and start talking about How are we going to make ends meet? There is nothing that has ever warmed my heart more than to see a clerk say, well, I have extra money, I can give that to a sheriff, or, and not to pick on sheriffs, but they do always need money. And, you know, to see that coming together, that doesn't happen everywhere. And that is a very special trait that county government has. There are many things that make you all special. You're the first one in the state that your constituents turn to. When COVID hit and everybody was up here trying to figure out what to do, county government was already on the ground, trying to take care of people, trying to do what you needed to do. And it's a big responsibility to be a leader, but each one of you do that very well with little credit. And you know, I get calls from you all the time and you say, oh, I hate to bother you. If you're in this room, I don't ever want to hear that again when I pick up the phone. My job is to answer the phone and help you with what you need. Now, sometimes you do have to stand in line, or sometimes I have to say, Cheryl, help me out with this. Your questions matter. And if we can't help you, then what are we doing? What you do matters, and you matter to this state auditor, every one of you. It's our job to help you. And I want to make it my personal goal to help any of you that need help with this. So, also can't forget Cheryl. I know I mentioned her a couple of times, but I couldn't do this without her. And for those of you who don't know, she and I went to college together. So we've been together for a really long time. I'll be around today, the rest of today and tomorrow. We hope to help you with the understanding of the ARPA funds, and just want you to know we appreciate you. So hope you have a wonderful conference.
All right, you might be seated. Well, without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, it's my great pleasure today to introduce the rock star in his own right, our legislative liaison, Bill Case. Where's Brother Bill? There he is. Welcome, Bill Case, would you please?
Good afternoon. Thank you, Mr. President, board members. Good to see you all. What a lineup today. Hey, listen, I'm going to be real quick because Gene Wallace, the governor, the senator, and the Secretary Gatz, they gave my report. So we're good. You guys all know about all the good things that happened this year. The governor talked about it. So did the senator. So I was so pleased that the senator was able to receive that Rockstar Award. I'm telling you, we don't give those out very often, but he deserved it. Since he was elected, I think it was what, 2017 or 18, he has been there for us every single time. So he deserved it. He's always wanted to do more. And about 3 years ago, we asked him to work on the county salary bill. And we've been working on that. Like I said, it took us 3 years to get the thing finally done. But, you know, he was quick to say, I want to do this because I know it's a big deal for the county officers or deputies and some employees to raise that cap. So I started talking to the ACCO president, Doug Hubbard, County Commissioner Doug Hubbard back then. And he was president, and Doug goes like, hey, listen, we got to get after this thing. He said, we got to have a $10,000 cap. I mean, let's get serious about this. And so we worked real hard. And that was what our legislation said at the very beginning, that we're going to raise that base salary by $10,000. So that's a good one because it's been 20 years since that cap has ever been raised. So it was overdue. And Chris Kidd, Senator Kidd took off with that, and Representative Brad Bowles from Marlow. They both worked very well with us. But like I got to say, County Commissioner Hubbard, you were the driving force behind making that happen. And Mr. Wallace, or Gene Wallace, I didn't know if you remember that or not, but pretty important stuff. But we got that done, but the legislature says, I can only sell you 5,000. I can't do the 10. So that's kind of how that all went down. They said 5 instead of 10. So we negotiated and they won. I didn't. But anyway, I just wanted to tell you that this session was a very productive session for county government. There was a lot of good things that were accomplished over the last couple of years, and the legislature filed about 3,100 bills. The governor signed in about 600 laws, which is way too many, but he signed those into law. And out of that, we had about 200 bills that ACCO was tracking. And the governor signed 42 bills. It was just amazing the year we had, and a lot of good things, good for county government at the courthouse with the court clerks, county commissioners. Everybody got some really good, encouraging, money-saving type, efficiency type legislation. So it was good stuff. But I wanted just to tell you that, not to stand up here much longer, but I wanted to tell you, I just really appreciate this job, working with the county commissioners, working with the ACCO team. They're a great bunch of people. Everybody on staff is just so good, and you know that. But the board behind me, it sits behind me, they've been supportive of me, and I really appreciate them as well. But also to you county commissioners and other county officials out there, thank you for your support. We ask you to make a connection with your legislator at home. And I know many of you have done that. So keep doing that. We always are getting brand new ones. They don't have a clue of what you do or how county government works, but please continue that, working those relationships, get those cell numbers in your speed dial so you can contact them. And that would go a long ways with helping with our legislative agenda. And also a shout out to other counties that we have other county commissioners in other counties and some of their staff that help the ACCO team as well. And I really appreciate their efforts at the Capitol, and they earned it as well. But just my last little thing here I wanted to bring up before I'll get off the stage here was, well, I got two things. There's going to be some interim studies come up, legislative studies come up this fall. Lots of studies about medical marijuana, about county government in relationship to medical marijuana, rules, regulations, those kind of things. All kinds of studies along those lines is coming up. So legislature is looking really seriously at what's going on in your neighborhood. So that's a good thing. And let's see, lastly, you heard the Senator Gatz and Senator Kidd and Secretary Gatz. You heard them both talk about this LOFT, Legislative Office of Fiscal Transparency. That's a brand new state agency the legislature created 3 years ago. They are a watchdog. They go in and look at every state agency or other entities that take state money. Well, the CERB program and the county commissioners, your county highway funds, you do receive state dollars. So this LOFT group reviewed the CERB plan, and this 85-page report, as you heard, we just got it back a few weeks ago. Randy Robinson's still going through it. I mean, it was a nightmare for that. But the deal is that what we found out is that we've got state agency and legislators now seeing that the CERB program is working. It is a valuable asset to the state, and they understand better what's going on with the CERB program. So that was a good, positive thing. Now in 85 pages, they did say some things, we have some room for improvement. And, you know, every program that's a decade old has room for improvement. But the deal is that they know where some of the weaknesses are. They'd like to see improvements, but they also know it's going to take money to do that. So I look this as a positive, that the program is going to be uplifted. ODOT's going to help us much more, hopefully, with things. And I think this is just the beginning of seeing more funding coming your way down the road. And with that, Mr. Wallace, that's all I've got. And Mr. President, have a good conference. Thank you.
I want to remind everybody that there'll be prizes given away here later on this afternoon, drawings and all that good stuff. Makes for an exciting time. Now it's time to move on to our next part of our program, our OSU LTAP Road Scholars Awards. Aaron Wright, is he, there he is. Okay, come on down. These folks are very valuable to county government. We appreciate all they do. Give him one more round of applause.
Good afternoon. I just want to thank ACCO, Executive Director Wallace and President Westbrook and all their support that they've provided to us, especially Mr. Dale Freck. If you find him, pat him on his good shoulder today. He's traveled all over Oklahoma with us and has been very helpful in our safety training. So very appreciative. Also to all the commissioners that have supported us and especially your assistants, because I know they do the real work. We appreciate you all very much for helping us. We've done more training thanks to rain and the pandemic. We've put on more classes and had more attendance to training in the last 10 months than we did last year. So, and that's thanks to all of you all. So, and because of that, we have 24 road scholars we're going to be giving out today. If you're not familiar with our Road Scholar Certificate or Certification Program, it's a series of 8 courses, a minimum of 88 hours that these people have taken, and some more actually. And when they're done with that, it helps them to, as they plan, maintain, and construct roads and bridges, it helps them in their work, in their daily work. So they put in a lot of hours for this. So I'm going to grab a mic and we're going to go down here on the floor since there's so many of them and hand these out. Working, CJ? Yes, there it is. So first up, we have oil from Cheney County. Here. Cleveland County. Dean Lebanon. Grant County, Michael Sims. School County, Commissioner Larry Watson. He completed his Rhodes Scholars in less than 120 days. Payne County. Pittsburgh County, we got 7 Pittsburgh counties. Pittsburgh County. So first up, Brian Bedford. Michael Elrod. Stanley Hyde. Wade Mathis. Charlie W. Rogers. Charles E. Rogers. Wayne Beamer. And I should say we have moved over to Rogers County. Justin Miller. Rusty Olson. Scott Ramsey. Ed Asher. And from Texas County, last but not least, Tony Baker. Also from Texas County, Dylan Edwards. All right, so let's give them all a hand. Appreciate you all. Back to Mr. Whitaker.
Our next presenter from OSU CTP program is Nody Lansford. Come on up, Nody.
It's good to be with you today. It's, I'm not sure if it's good to be on the last of the program, well, actually, we've got our director here, Gene's next on the program, but near the end, I've got just a couple of slides to show to you. We're not handing out certificates today. We always do that at the November ACCO conference, so we'll look forward to doing that at that time. But I've got a couple of slides here to show you just give a quick infomercial. Aaron noted that despite the pandemic, we tried to keep on providing programs, and there we go. So I want to just say, again, you've got the Rhodes Scholarship Program that Aaron just talked about. You've got the assessor training program for assessors, of course, and you've got our training program provided through the Cooperative Extension Service. And I want to make sure you know that we've got a table down here near the registration booth. Come by and see us, pick up materials, pick up schedules of classes. Go to our new website. I'm still trying to figure out our new website. I'm kind of mad at OSU for messing up my website, but nevertheless, they didn't give me a choice. So we're going to deal with it as it is. Call us at 744-6160 if we can ever help you. When you get to that program, that web page, and you can just Google it, CTP at OSU, and you'll want to look at our classes, click on certification programs, and then you'll see in the bottom left corner that's highlighted on the screen, all courses. And a lot of you have been calling us over the last few months and saying, when are you going to post the next set of courses? Well, we've got them posted, just been posting just within the last couple of weeks, and we're going to be posting more. But we've got open meetings, open records, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I would urge you to sign up. We've got some excellent speakers. Joey Sinnott is an expert in open meetings, open records. If you haven't heard him, you'll learn a lot from him. So take a look at all those courses, and what happens after you take a bunch of courses, you get a certificate from us. And I'm happy to, I was looking at who could I show as an example of a recipient, and I'm going to show you somebody that we're missing at this time. Richard Bryan left us into eternity last year in 2020, but he was a great commissioner, a great friend I considered him to be for us, and he was really, really interested in learning all he could learn. So appreciated Richard. So long story short, we've got short courses, we got handbooks. We're about to put out the new commissioner handbook within the next month or two. We've got it updated. Come to us if you need data. Randy Robinson, all of you know, often calls me. We share information and provide that information. We've got publications, we've got one-on-one assistance. Several of you call me and ask about the salary formula. Hey, it changed. What do we do? Well, we've got a spreadsheet on our website that provide that for you. We've been sending you the Scoop newsletter out of Ag Communications. If you're not getting that, and you want to get that, let me know. Of course, Extension provides 4-H, ag programs, and so forth. Come by the table up there and see us. Now, I'm an economist by training, and that's the boring, dismal science, right? But I'm not going to bore you, but just a second. So listen up, Mr. Lozier. All right. What happened to sales taxes in counties? Sales taxes for county governments between fiscal year 2020 and fiscal year 2021. Well, here it is. We've got people that got a lot less money, and we got people who made a lot more money from county sales tax. So Blaine County went down 67%. K County went up 41%. And all in between. The net change overall, the average change amongst the 76 counties that have a county sales tax was a negative 0.75%. So pretty much flat. But there were some counties that made a whole lot more than others. If you want to know exactly what your county did, if you haven't looked at that, we've got a sheet on the table down there. You can pick it up, and it shows every county, county by county. Likewise, what I think of as the up and coming source of data is the use tax, the county use tax, basically sales tax from out-of-state purchases. Again, what do we see? It's the same thing. broad array of changes from negative 55% in Dewey County to a positive 130% in Cole County. Did the auditor have something to do with that? Did Cindy make that happen? I don't know. Cole County's her home. We'll give her credit. But overall, a use tax was up 14.5% on average. And I call that the up and coming item because I think we're going to continue to see that sort of thing. I think we're going to see sales taxes growing, but I think we're going to see use tax growing even more. And whereas sales tax is voted on, the use tax is allocated by your county commissioners. So last but not least, if we add the sales tax and the use tax together, we got anywhere from negative 56% in Blaine County to a positive 46% in K County. I'm going to start driving from Stillwater up to K County and enjoy their wealth sometime. Average 1.3% up. Again, if you want to see your county's individual numbers, I've got a sheet back on the table that I just put together yesterday. So being an economist, I had to just show you a couple of slides and basically to say, although ad valorem has been the bedrock #1 source of money for county government for many years, we're seeing that sales tax, use tax is becoming even larger. So something to really take a look at and keep track of. Thanks so much for time with you. I know that we're short on time, so I'm going to not tell the story I was thinking about telling. Save us for another time. All right. Thank you much.
No, since nobody didn't tell the story, I think I will. You know, we haven't picked on President Westbrook near enough today, but and if the following story isn't true, it should be. But while many of you don't know, Jimmy is somewhat of a lay minister and just a man of good character from McCurtain County. But as he was running for re-election, his wife bought him a brand new bicycle to ride around and campaign in the county. You know, and as Jimmy's riding this brand new bicycle, he met a little old kid coming down the road that was pulling a lawnmower. And Jimmy said, "What you got there, son?" He said, "Well, I got a new lawnmower." He said, "I really wanted a new bicycle." Well, of course, President Westbrook, he's always up for a good trade. And he thought, I need a lawnmower far more than I need this red bicycle I'm riding. So he said, "I'll tell you what, son, I'll just trade you this new bicycle for this lawnmower." Kid said, "Hey, that's great, son." So the little boy rides off on the bicycle. Jimmy runs off pushing his lawnmower down the road. So the kid runs around the block a couple of times, and Jimmy's down there on some grass, and he's pulling this lawnmower. Won't start. Kid rode up and said, "What's wrong, mister?" And he said, "Son, this lawnmower won't start." The kid said, "Well, mister, first of all, let me tell you, Mr. Commissioner, that's a cussing lawnmower. You've got to cuss that lawnmower a little bit to get it to start." Jimmy said, "Well, young man, I'm kind of a lay minister and a county commissioner here in McCurtain County. I haven't cussed in 25 years, and I'm not so sure I know how." Kid said, "Just keep jerking on that rope, mister. You'll figure it out pretty quick." Well, we're virtually in the home stretch of our general session today. Have you enjoyed it? Yes. Has this been a good one? Well, what made it good is the fact that you're here. And, you know, we've all suffered through this past year, and everybody's talked about it to the point they're sick of it. But, you know, we lost some very good people. We lost some commissioners and other elected officials. And the board and the staff made a decision early that we would try to be smart than the lucky. And so I hope that that's where we are when we really did, we thought about what effect we could have. And we had an awful lot of people got sick, but gratefully they didn't succumb to it. But the one thing that did happen to us as a product of having to cancel our conferences for 2020 is you have some wonderful people that are elected in their districts to serve and represent you as far as the ACCO board is concerned and our insurance board. And we have always had a tradition that when commissioners leave the board, we give them a little memento of their service to the board. They serve a tremendous amount of share their talent and their effort and their time to serve on this board. It's thankless in a lot of ways, other than they're just like you, they've got a servant's heart. And that's what makes this operation as strong as it possibly is. Now, we're celebrating our 40th birthday in October for our next conference. And when you think about the things that we've accomplished in 40 years on behalf of local government, it's just an astounding story. But the story is told by the people who have the boots on the ground and putting forth the effort, whether that's you or your board of directors. So what we'd like to do is bring up some individuals that we didn't get to say goodbye to as a product of the pandemic. And we'd like to go ahead and give them, what we do is we give them a commemorative knife for their time and effort that they spent on behalf of the board. Now, if I can find the box. I would call in this order Steve Carter from Sequoia County, who served on our SIG-SIP board for many, many years. Steve, are you here? Well, Big Jacks want me to tell some stories about you, Steve.
There's some good ones.
But I think you've suffered enough. But anyway, we wish you the best and thank you for the time and effort that you put forward.
Well, I appreciate y'all, and it's been a pleasure serving on all those boards, and guys, I really appreciate it.
All right,
Enjoy.
thanks, Steve. One of our ex-board of directors for ACCO, Gary Gray from Hughes County. Gary, we also thank you. Thank you for time and effort. Gary was always kind of our brain checking things and looking at whether it was right or wrong. And we really do appreciate him. He did a wonderful job. Thank you, Gary.
Appreciate it.
Nikki Boone, is Nikki Boone in the room? Where are you, Nikki? If anybody sees Nikki wandering around out in the hall, run him toward this way. We'll hold his. Jimmy said he'd swap him a lawnmower for it if he doesn't show up. Stephen Wright from Muskogee County. I served with Steve as county commissioner in Muskogee County for several years. And Steve is a master mechanic and an operator and a water operator. His resume is as long as the people who spoke earlier. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Dana.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate your time.
And last but certainly not least, Lance Smith from LaFleur County. Now, Lance certainly doesn't want me telling this, but let me share an anonymous story with you. Anytime we have a commissioner who was in need or fighting challenges, Lance would be the first one anonymously to step up to help. And Lance was always kind of our Christian guide for every board meeting and gave tremendous guidance to us and gave good words on behalf of our association. So Lance, we thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, well, get your dancing shoes on because tonight at 7:30, the infamous Clancy Davis. And kind of like when I made those, but like Senator Kidd, Clancy has county DNA running in his blood. His dad is the county commissioner in Pontotoc County. Clancy made commercials for USA Chevrolet, and he is a cousin to the infamous Blake Shelton. So he is one of our favorites that we bring to the conference, that brings his band, and we hope that you enjoy it tonight at 7:30. It's open.